Welcome to Digital Thread Bytes, a workforce development podcast produced by Sinclair College and the Dayton Development Coalition in Dayton, Ohio. In this podcast, the team discusses the coming revolution in digital engineering, highlighting digital transformation success stories and opportunities for learning. Here are your hosts, Jennifer Gravitt and Elizabeth Generas.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 14 of Digital Thread Bytes. We're here today with AJ Rolling, the owner and president of Cat-Wood Metalworks, right here in Dayton, Ohio. Cat-Wood is a machine shop that we've been working with for a number of months, years at this point, and we're really excited about the outcomes that he has put forth in his shop, the really cool digital transformation that he's undergone and continues to undergo. Thank you for joining us today, AJ.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure. Certainly, you guys have helped out a lot through the years, and I appreciate all the support.
I have to also acknowledge Fastlane, the MEP here in Dayton that connected us with you and their incredible manufacturing advisors. So without their support, we would have never met you and would have not have known that Cat-Wood exists.
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly I want to thank Priscilla. She's done a lot from Fastlane to help us out. And then certainly Sinclair in terms of programs like supporting students. I got a lot of employees that are going to school there part-time. So I appreciate all that as well.
Yeah, I remember that first visit. Priscilla met us to go on a tour of your facility. And it was just, we were so excited to see what you could do because you had so many awesome ideas. So,
well, I appreciate that.
Tell us about Cat-Wood and your role as owner and president.
Sure. So Cat-Wood has been around since 1994. It's had a really loyal customer base ever since it started, mainly because we make such good parts and we've got a crew that's been with us pretty much since 94 and really talented in making good parts. My background is I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel. I've got a PhD in aerospace engineering. And before I came back to Dayton, Ohio, I was teaching gas turbine engine design at the Air Force Academy in Colorado. But I came out here and I wanted to be an engineer that could build stuff. Found Cat-Wood. It already had a great reputation. I bought into it in 2017. I was the majority owner at that point in time, and I fully bought the company about a year and a half ago. A little bit about Cat-Wood. It's AS/ISO certified. It's ITAR certified. It's a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. And we make parts that go on F-18, C-130s, ULA rockets. So it's a lot of fun. It's fun walking around the shop with new people coming in and seeing that we're working on, things like rockets. It's very exciting for them to see it. And then, of course, buying new technology, implementing things like robots, 5-axis systems, and the digital machine data collection system. All those kinds of things certainly excite the crew I've already got. And future guys and gals coming on board get to see, oh, yeah, we're going to be doing work on very exciting things. So I don't know how PG this podcast is, but our core purpose is to buy, use, and build cool shit that matters. So, and rockets is the word that we kind of end off on because we had a person come through at one point, and when we got to the point where I showed him that we built rockets, he just yelled rockets because he couldn't believe it. He was so excited, and I'll never forget that day. It charged me up and does make things exciting.
It is exciting. I don't think you're ever not charged up.
Well, that's a real problem.
But it's exciting, and it made it just obvious when we came to you about your digital transformation. And regarding that, what was the first change you made in your digital transformation journey, and why did you start there?
Sure. So I bought the shop in 2017, and by 2018, I realized that we needed to get an enterprise resource planning software, so ERP system that was customizable so that we could take advantage of the data that we were collecting and then build appropriate dashboards to stay on top of key performance indicators that we cared about. And that was huge for us. I don't even know how many dashboards we have at this point in time, but now I've got each of my managers every morning are reporting from the dashboard that I have them look at where it stands and what's going on with it. And the main thing that they're letting me know is if there's any mitigations that they've got to do to fix any problems. So that's how we start every day. That was probably the very first thing with digital was getting the right ERP, figuring out what KPIs we wanted to be able to see, and then building those dashboards so that they're very user friendly. And then the next big one for digital was we wanted to try and get higher fidelity information. So with the ERP, it's very good because you are collecting data as people clock in and out of jobs. You've got what the status is, you've got the traceability, and then you've also got essentially a tie back to cost because you know how long something takes. But all of those they're human inputs, and so there's human error that's associated with that. So the next big thing that I wanted to do with digital was get involved with the machine data collection system. And there's quite a few good companies out there. We ended up using Factory Wiz. They have a very good user interface for their system. The intent of using the machine data collection for the big muscle movements is things like overall equipment efficiency. But for the smaller, high fidelity things that I really want to understand is cost and profit per part, per employee, and per machine. And so that's where we're going. It's not quite there yet. It's kind of a big challenge to get all that going, especially when you're high mix, low volume. But that's the intent of the higher fidelity system with the MDC. The other nice benefit with having the MDC, because we had to wire Ethernet everywhere, is you can have direct numerical control. And so we're no longer using thumb drives for data. The NC code, we're not pulling it from one computer and taking it to the machine. It's just going directly from a computer to the machine. So it's, a little bit more secure, and cybersecurity is a big issue for us as well. One of the big things that's going on with security is CMMC for aerospace. It's quite a hill to climb. We've accomplished 103 out of the 110 controls so far, and we should finish up here within a few months. But it's a pretty monumental task to do that.
That's amazing that you've gotten that far in it. It's a beast.
It is a beast. I didn't know. I bought a machine shop to make parts, and I've got a full-time IT person on staff. I hired a person with a master's in IT that's also helping out, but he does other stuff for me as well. So pretty expensive, but also important to protect IP for our customers.
Right.
When did you hire that IT person? At what point in your process did you realize you needed this IT person?
So the person that I hired, actually, I had him as a quality inspector. He was from the Air Force, and he did IT in the Air Force. And what we started to see was that it wasn't going to be a part-time thing for him to be able to do quality and then some IT. It was going to be, okay, we've got to put you full-time on IT. And he's just managing what needs to go on, especially with the CMMC, with the controls. But we've also had to hire, outside providers. So a service provider that handles our system, make sure that it's safe, make sure that we got backups, all that sort of thing. It's a lot.
It is a lot. But all those cyber people are very happy you're done with the thumb drives, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
The Air Force hates a thumb drive.
They do.
Yep.
It's an incredible process that you've gone through, and in a relatively short amount of time from when you purchased to now.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of mind-boggling.
Well, yeah, it's fun and exciting. That's I do enjoy challenges. I was a military officer, and so I got a lot of good background for understanding how to approach different processes. And so, being able to do resource allocation, thinking things in terms of man, train, and equip, those were very helpful. And then learning more from the business side, what you have to do in terms of being successful as a business has been very interesting. Right now, we're going through something called scaling up. That's a process. The author is Vern Harnish, and we started that about 9 months ago, and that's been very useful for my executive team. It is about continuous improvement, and there's always opportunities. It's not only at the operational level, there's a lot of strategic things that we get to work on. So there's opportunities all over the place to keep getting better and better.
That's for sure. And so you kind of talked about what you've gone through and where you kind of are now, and scaling up and up to that point. So talk about for a minute or two what your biggest barriers were along the way.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're imperfect humans that are working with imperfect humans. So personnel issues and those kinds of things are challenges that you work through they're different to work through than other kinds of challenges that are, the engineering brain can handle some problems, but working through personnel issues and making sure you got the right crew and the right culture. Culture is very important. So we've got several core values that we talk through with the whole team that have certainly made a difference. I think they're differentiators for our company compared to other companies, why it is a fun place to work. I think in terms of where the most effort and things of that nature it's really more about personnel and making sure you got the right people doing the right things, getting them the right skills, getting them the right classes, getting the right on the job training, all that sort of thing has been probably the thing that's required the most attention.
Which is a fascinating thing because anyone we talk to who's undergone digital transformation, you can have all the tools, you can have all the gadgets, and you can have everything in place, but it all comes down to culture.
Yep, that culture each, let's see if I got this right. And I can't attribute who said it, but culture eats strategy. So if you don't have the right culture, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is.
It's Drucker, the original quote, culture
Drucker.
eats strategy for breakfast. And
That's
it's
right.
totally true. We see it. Everyone sees it if they look close enough at their company culture. When you bought this shop, did you even think I'm going to have to deal with culture?
Boy, that's a great question. I was very focused in on how to do things better and better. So I was very tactically focused, and I had a lot of fun in the back of the shop because I was busy programming, doing machining, and all that sort of stuff. So it took me probably about 2 years before I realized, oh, I better I better quit playing in the back and start figuring out how to grow the company and do things the right way. But the good news about spending a couple years in the back with everybody is that certainly the credibility is there. They know that I understand what it is that they're dealing with. That credibility means that I also know when they say they need something that we're going to go for it. We're going to get what is needed. I didn't know that going in, that the culture was going to be a big thing, but it's turned out to be probably the biggest thing.
Well,
Yeah.
they know you're invested in not only in the company, but in them. And that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. One of our core values is it sounds funny. The first one's win together, but the second one is dad advice. You know, society hasn't done a stellar job in making sure that everybody has tools just to successfully navigate life. And simple things like being able to put your own personal budget together. A lot of my guys hadn't seen that before. And I'll just give you a story. One of the guys, he said, look, I'm getting ready to go negative on my checking account. And I said, okay, well, let's sit down and talk about it. The gut feeling might be, well, let me just, either give you some money or give you a raise. But I said, why don't we sit down and look at your budget? And so we looked at his budget and I said, with the budget you got right now, you should be able to save about $4,000 by the end of the year. And he was kind of blown away. And I said, let's see where you are in a week. And so in a week we got together and he goes, yeah, I kind of misunderstood where I was with where I was spending money. And he realized he was spending about, I think it was $70 a week on vaping. And so he quit vaping. He started saving $70 a week. And after about 8 weeks, he was sticking to the budget. And that's when I was able to give him a pay raise. Because if I gave him a pay raise before he figured out, it would have been worse. He would have been throwing, he had been making more money and using it, just as poorly.
Yeah.
So anyhow, it helped in a couple ways. Well, it was a three-way win, right? Because he quit vaping, he figured out how to save money with what he was already making, and he got a pay raise. So kind of a trifecta.
You set him up for success instead of failure by just giving him money.
Yeah. So he's doing really well right now. And then a few other guys have come and we've sat down and helped them out with their budgets as well. It's a thing where we got to take care of each other.
Absolutely.
I love dad advice.
I
we
do
may
too.
have to attribute that to you somehow. It's supporting your whole employee, and it's just great to hear.
Yeah, well, we got a good crew, and they do a lot for me and for the company while they're at work, and so the least I can do is try and help them so that they don't have big worries outside of work.
That's really awesome.
So we've talked about a lot of your process and some of the things that were in the way and the amazing ways that you've tackled these problems. Where are you seeing now the most impact from the data collection, from the digital transformation, from even the culture? What's the impact that you're seeing?
Well, the biggest thing it sounds crazy, but I'm starting to be less stressed out.
That's good.
Yeah. So, most companies my size, they probably can tell you how they're doing that day. And maybe they can tell you what their trend was up until that day and maybe project forward based off of that trend. But I can tell you where we're going to be literally at least probably 2 quarters out, maybe even a year out. So it just makes it a lot more comfortable. For anybody that's new to business, you got to know what your quick ratio is, what your 2 months operating expenses are. Once you have that set aside, you got a little bit of breathing room, and then you can start making, I joke around, then you can really start making bad decisions. But Once you've got enough cash set aside, then you can actually start thinking how you want to do capital investments, what things you need to pursue, if there are efficiencies you want to gain. It opens up the doors for you once you've set aside enough cash that's no longer a big worry.
Those are huge impacts.
Yeah.
Less stress is, I mean, that's not easy to attain either.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm always worried. That's part of the thing. But anyhow, yeah, I'm not stressed that it's something devastating just right around the corner. Now it's okay. Well, what do I need to do to plan to make sure that we're going to be able to ride any storm while we're going out and get more opportunities?
Which is a wonderful segue into our final question. Question we ask all of our guests is, what keeps you up at night, AJ?
That is a great question. Let me see. What keeps me up at night? Oof. Well, it used to be I was naive and nothing kept me up because I had no worries, and I should have been really worried. And then I started to realize, oh my gosh, this is really bad. We're not doing so well. I'll give my quality manager a lot of credit. She helped me to recognize that our quoting process was completely wrong. So she won't let me quote anymore. And she did this to me about 2 years ago. She said the quotes need to be touched by 5 people. So now the quotes, they come in, they're touched by my buyer who checks with all the vendors, my production managers look through it, my quality manager looks through it, and then finally after I've all got all the numbers from them, then I can do the estimating. It's a product where we actually make money on jobs. I didn't realize that we were losing money on jobs until she let me know. Once we did that, and I started to see the impact of knowing ahead of time that any bid was going to be profitable, that's when I started feeling a lot better. And then the next big one was when we put enough cash aside that I've got several months of operating expenses. I'll be honest with you, at this point in time, nothing devastating really keeps me up at night. If anything's keeping me up at night, is okay, what can we do now that's going to be fun and exciting? So
that's what a great spot to be in, to just be excited.
After all this time, all this work.
Yep. Yeah, it's
to
a
tell
long time.
people that it is possible to do it, it's sustainable, and it's worth it.
There you go. I like that. Let me write that down.
Go on the board next to database.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, AJ, this has been amazing to get to talk to you about all of this, and we appreciate your time and all the effort, and really for being a great example to the Dayton region and beyond about what can happen when you implement digital transformation and you take it seriously and you use all the tools and you wrap that amazing culture in. It's a great story, and we really appreciate you sharing it with us.
My pleasure. I mean, you guys have been there with me every step of the way. So if I can help you out in the future, please let me know.
You will.
Well, thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. The hosts would like to thank Sinclair College, the Dayton Development Coalition, and our guests for exploring the digital thread. This material is based upon the work supported by Air Force Prime Contract number F48650-16-D-5524. Manufacturing and Industrial Technologies MITS, Task Order J, Regional Fabrication and Certification Training Labs, an Air Force ManTech project managed by Arctos Technology Solutions. Any opinions, findings and conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this material are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Air Force or Arctos Technology Solutions.